This is the story of the Russian sleep experiment, a terrifying tale of scientists experimenting on people by forcing them to stay awake for days at a time. But there's a problem. It probably didn't happen. Hi, I'm here to tell you all about it. Okay, so this story comes from a website called Operation Paperclip. Now, Operation Paperclip was a real US government program that took place at the end of World War II. It involved gathering up German scientists and bringing them to America, which sounds like a great idea with the best of intentions. However, many of these scientists had been involved in some pretty terrible things, including human experimentation, war crimes, and developing biological weapons. And so, the US government was understandably a little concerned that these scientists might not be above doing those kinds of things in America, and so they created a system for tracking and supervising these scientists, and also for blacklisting them from certain experiments. But here's where things get weird. In 1968, the CIA sent out a memo that warned of a supposed Russian sleep experiment. Now, this memo warned that the Russians were planning to use hypnosis to make sleeper agents who could stay awake for days at a time, which obviously sounds terrifying. But here's the thing. The CIA didn't believe that any of this was actually happening. They just wanted to make sure that their own scientists were extra careful not to do any of this kind of stuff. Because you know the Russians would totally do this kind of thing. It was all a ruse to cover up their own human experiments. And so the story of the Russian sleep experiment has mostly been told as this scary story of what the Russians almost did but didn't really do. There are a few stories from former Soviet scientists that claim that they did, in fact, conduct experiments on sleep. But those experiments were more about using sleep deprivation as a form of torture rather than creating sleeper agents. So did the Russian sleep experiment actually happen? Well, we can't know for sure, but it doesn't really matter because the story highlights just how far we were willing to go to keep our enemies at bay. Even if this story is just a cover-up, it still makes for a great scary story.